As my family and I have worked through the grieving process, I've said all along what I've said time and again to others, that it may very well be that that process, by the time we get through it, closes the window on mounting a realistic campaign for president, that it might close. I've concluded it has closed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show, Wednesday edition from our New York City studios, and that is the news of the day. The speculation is over. The imminent announcement speculation is over. And Joe Biden announcing in the Rose Garden with, as you saw, President Obama and his wife by his side, that he will not be seeking the Democratic nomination for president for 2016. Many people are saying they're not surprised. And one person who's been writing, as in fact, one of his last columns was "Why Joe Why?" A play on words of "Run Joe Run." And Michael Tomasky, Daily Beast special correspondent and author of Yeah, 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 The Beatles in America Then and Now. There it is on your screen. Michael joins us. Hey, Michael, were you, even though you said it was a bad idea from the beginning, were you surprised that he ultimately here said no?
Mildly, because I've thought, Steve, that it was going to be no for weeks. But then some of those things he said yesterday, made me think, oh, boy, it looks like a little pot shot he took at Clinton about enemies and trying to apparently revise his role in the bin Laden thing. Those things made me say, oh, my gosh, it looks like he's doing this. But he's not. And I was right. Once in a blue moon, once in a lunar something, it happens, and I think he made the right decision.
Yeah. Now it's interesting. I think the dead giveaway, here in the newsroom, and maybe this is too inside baseball for some, but once they said that there'll be an announcement in 5 minutes, Joe Biden's going to make an announcement from the Rose Garden, and the president's going to be there. I think it was kind of a fait accompli that he's not going to say I'm running from the Rose Garden with the president standing by his side.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, because that would amount to an endorsement by Obama, and that would be just totally without precedent and totally insane. So.
He did, however, go on to speak for about 20 minutes, and correct me if I'm wrong, he basically gave, if he had said, I am running, he would have given just about the same exact speech that he gave after he said, I'm not running.
Yeah, except he's Joe Biden, Stephen. It would have been 40 minutes if he was running.
But what was the purpose of that, do you think?
I think the purpose of that was to establish himself. And I don't know. This sounds a little cynical.
Go ahead.
But what I wrote in that column the other day is that if he wants to be the spare, the white knight, the person who, if Clinton is felled by some actual scandal, and then the party establishment turns to somebody and says, oh, we've got to get somebody who can stop Bernie Sanders and get us an electable candidate. He's already that person. He doesn't have to run to be that person. He is already that person, and that speech, even though it was a little on the long side, was probably an attempt to make sure that he is that person, because that speech said, I'm in tune with today's democratic liberal priorities about income inequality and family leave and all these things that our leading candidate, incidentally, is promoting out there on the campaign trail. So, I guess it sends the message
that he wants to be the spare.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, because there's always that chance that, Hillary could get in legal trouble, and then, so you think if that were to happen, he would jump in?
I think he would certainly be pressed upon to jump in, and would probably do it at that point.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the other side, and let's talk about the ABC News poll that's out today, Washington Post, ABC News, and once again, Donald Trump, who's most electable, who you get to vote for, blah, 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 blah. It's Trump and Carson, and then the rest of them. And Carly Fiorina is practically out of the mix, as we saw in the CNN poll a couple of days ago. Do you think, Michael, that anybody could stop Donald Trump at this point?
Well, maybe. I mean, once they start voting and then the field whittles down to two people and it's Trump versus Rubio or somebody, maybe Trump's cap of 30 or so percent holds, and and that other person, that more establishment candidate, would be it Rubio or whomever, ends up beating him one-on-one over the course of the long haul of next spring into Pennsylvania and Illinois and so on and so on. So, he's stoppable, but he is clearly, Steve, he's not going to drop down. None of these things that he does, whether taking that whack at John McCain for being a prisoner of war.
Right. I really thought that. I mean, I spoke out against that. I just thought there's no way he could continue, and it doesn't matter. And Michael, it doesn't matter because people are so fed up with what they're seeing in Washington, and so fed up that their leaders that were promised them so much on the Republican side are doing nothing, and they're afraid to challenge Obama. They love Trump and his honesty, and by the way, they love Carson as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you got it exactly right. I mean, if I'm which I'm certainly not, as you know, but if I'm a Tea Party person sitting out there in America, and I voted for all these people, and I heard John Boehner and Mitch McConnell and all of the rest of them tell me for the last few years that we are going to cut federal spending to the bone, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to defund Obamacare, and we're going to make sure that this, that, and the other thing that you want is done, and then none of those things happen, I'd be mad at those people too, and I'd probably be for Trump and Carson.
Yeah, put Mitch McConnell in charge of the Senate and get Harry Reid out of there, and you'll see bills sent to the president's desk, and they've done absolutely nothing. All right, so very, very interesting here, and I think it's going to get more and more interesting as time goes along. Always good to talk to you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to talk to you.